Hey everyone, welcome to the Bold and Beautiful 24. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love bold and beautiful, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in.
The Bold and the Beautiful has never shied away from jaw-dropping bombshells. But what happens when the seemingly impenetrable walls of secrecy built by Dr. Lee Finnegan finally begin to crumble under the unbearable weight of truth? Imagine the scene unfolding in her quiet, sterile office at the hospital, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, stacks of patient files piled up like the burdens she carries daily, and her trembling hands clutching a manila envelope that has the power to blow apart her entire world. This isn't just another medical report. Not another chart or blood test for one of her patients, but a sealed paternity confirmation with her own name attached. A test she had desperately avoided for weeks, one she told herself she didn't need, because denial was easier than facing the truth. Yet here she is, standing frozen, every ounce of her composure, her carefully cultivated mask as a calm and rational professional, breaking apart as she forces herself to open it. The first words etched on the page steal the air from her lungs. "See this, Luna," she mutters under her breath as if mocking the very fate that has decided to taunt her, her voice trembling as her eyes dart to the section revealing the father's identity. In that moment, time seems to stop, the walls close in, and her entire life collapses into a singular, devastating realization. Because the name written there is one she never expected, one she cannot even comprehend fully, and it is tied directly to her own family, her own blood, and to Luna Nozawa, the niece she's fought with, clashed with, and tried to protect in her own twisted, controlling way. Lee thought she was done with surprises after learning Luna's many secrets. After enduring the chaos of Sheila Carter's manipulations, after surviving years of deception in her own marriage. But this revelation? This is something else entirely. She drops into her chair, gripping the report so tightly that her knuckles whiten, whispering over and over again that it can't be true, that mistakes happen, that labs mix things up. But deep down she knows her medical expertise leaves no room for error. The DNA doesn't lie, and what the results confirm is not just shocking but catastrophic. The father of the unborn child she carries, the child she never thought she'd be having at this stage in her life, isn't who she believed, isn't who she hoped, but someone who ties her fate to Luna's in the most twisted, irreversible way possible. And the horror of it all is that this secret will not remain hers forever. Because in Los Angeles, secrets always have a way of crawling into the light, no matter how hard you try to bury them. Lee's mind races with questions. How will Finn react when he learns the truth? Will he see her as a hypocrite, a liar, a woman who held her head so high while condemning others, only to fall into her own web of scandal? How will Luna respond when she hears those three fateful words, "See this, Luna," as Lee thrusts the test results into her niece's hands, demanding that she acknowledge the storm they're both now trapped in? The confrontation promises to be explosive, with Luna's wide-eyed shock colliding against Lee's fury and shame, and the men tangled in this paternity nightmare. Men like Bill Spencer, Jack Finnegan, or perhaps even someone younger, more dangerous, will be pulled into the battlefield too, their lives ripped apart by revelations they never saw coming. For a woman who built her entire life on structure, rules, and control, Lee is suddenly unmoored, spiraling, her identity as a doctor, a mother, and a protector challenged at its core. And the audience is left breathless watching her unravel, knowing that what happens next will send shockwaves through every corner of this already fractured family. Because this isn't just a scandal, it's a reckoning, one that pits Lee against her own blood, forces Luna into yet another impossible position, and opens the door for rivalries, alliances, betrayals, and heartbreak that no one in Los Angeles can escape. And as Lee whispers again, "See this, Luna," clutching that damning paper like a weapon, viewers realize they are witnessing the beginning of a story so devastating, so raw, that it will redefine everything we thought we knew about these characters and their tangled lives forever. Lee couldn't stop staring at the page, her heart thundering in her chest like a drum that wouldn't quiet, the words blurring and reforming as if mocking her with every glance. And in that surreal haze, she could almost hear the echo of her own voice reverberating through her head. "See this, Luna." As if she were already confronting her niece, already throwing the truth in her face, already setting fire to the fragile balance of their family with one reckless swing of the truth like a blade. But the reality was crueler, heavier, a weight pressing down on her lungs, stealing her breath. Because if she truly revealed what she now knew, if she handed this piece of paper to anyone, not only would Luna's life be upended, but so would Finn's and Jack's and Bill's, and even Steffi's hopes, and everyone else caught in the gravitational pull of this devastating revelation. She thought about Finn, her beloved son, the man she raised with unwavering discipline and love, the man she protected from Jack's lies for so long, the man who still struggles to process Sheila Carter being his biological mother. How could she possibly drop another bomb on him now? One that would tangle his already fragile family tree into an even darker mess? And Luna, poor Luna, who has been caught in one scandal after another, who has made mistakes, yes, but who also has been the victim of Lee's unrelenting judgment. How could Lee, of all people, look her in the eye and admit that the unborn child in her own womb ties them together in ways neither could have ever anticipated? Her mind races back over the moments that led her here, the weak, unguarded night when loneliness swallowed her whole, when the lines she never thought she'd cross blurred into oblivion, when the man who should have been out of reach became her secret, reckless choice. And now the consequence of that moment lives inside her, reshaping her body, her destiny, her family. She presses her hand to her stomach, still barely rounded, but carrying the weight of something so monumental that she feels herself buckling under it. And she wonders how much longer she can keep it hidden. How much longer she can wear her lab coat and walk the halls as Dr. Finnegan, respected and unflinching, when inside she is falling apart. Every knock at her office door makes her jump. Every page from a nurse feels like the universe itself inching closer to exposing her. And she knows that Luna, so sharp, so intuitive, will sense it eventually, will pry until she finds the truth. And when she does, the words "see this, Luna" will not be a choice but an inevitability. And what then? Will Luna scream, collapse, lash out? Will she weaponize the truth, tell Finn, tell Steffi, tell the entire world to watch Lee crumble publicly? Or will there be a strange, twisted bond formed in that moment? A recognition that both of them, aunt and niece, are now trapped in a cycle of betrayal, secrecy, and shame that neither can escape? Lee imagines the confrontation in vivid detail. Luna standing in front of her, wide-eyed and trembling, insisting she has a right to know, and Lee finally breaking, thrusting the papers into her hand with shaking fingers, hissing, "See this, Luna. See what you didn't want to know. See what I tried to protect you from." Her voice a mixture of fury, grief, and surrender. And when Luna's eyes widen, when she gasps at the name written there, the silence that follows will be more deafening than any scream. The fallout will be merciless, because the man tied to both of them in this scandal cannot remain a secret forever. And once his name is spoken, the entire fabric of their lives will rip apart. If it's Jack, Finn's father, then Lee will be forced to face the ultimate betrayal. That the man she divorced still somehow controls her destiny, still infects her family with lies and weakness. If it's Bill Spencer, then the power shift becomes dangerous, tying the Spencers to the Finnegans in a way no one foresaw, giving Dollar Bill leverage he will not hesitate to use. And if, in some dark twist, the father is someone even closer, someone forbidden, someone whose connection is so scandalous it borders on unthinkable, then Los Angeles will never be the same. Lee wipes her tears roughly, straightening her back, forcing herself into the cold, steel-like composure that has carried her through so many storms, but inside she is raw, unraveling. And for the first time in her life, she doesn't know what to do. She is used to fixing problems, diagnosing illnesses, stitching wounds. But this is a wound no scalpel can repair, a sickness no medicine can cure. She whispers again, almost like a prayer or a curse, "See this, Luna." And she realizes that whether she reveals it today, tomorrow, or months from now, the truth is a ticking bomb, and when it explodes, it will destroy not just her, but everyone connected to her, because on The Bold and the Beautiful, secrets are never buried. They are always resurrected, always weaponized, always unleashed at the worst possible time. And Lee knows with a clarity that chills her to the bone, that her time is almost up. Lee stayed at her desk long after the sun dipped below the Los Angeles skyline, the hospital corridors quieting to a hushed hum. The world outside carrying on as if her entire life hadn't just been reduced to a few typed lines on a sheet of paper that felt heavier than stone. She could hear her pulse in her ears, a steady pounding rhythm that matched the chaos of her thoughts. And though she had stared at paternity results countless times for patients over the years, delivering good news, bad news, life-changing news, she had never imagined being on the receiving end herself, trapped between the clinical detachment of a doctor and the raw vulnerability of a woman who has made a mistake that could undo everything she's built. Every corner of her mind replayed the night she slipped, the night her loneliness cracked her armor, the night she told herself it would stay buried forever. It was supposed to be a moment in the dark, never to be revisited, but now it lived inside her, growing, reshaping her destiny, and threatening to drag her reputation, her son, her family, and even her own moral compass through the mud. She thought of Finn, sweet Finn, who believed his mother to be strong, unshakable, moral, the woman who rescued him from Sheila's madness and kept him tethered to sanity when the truth of his origins nearly broke him. How would he look at her when he discovered she had betrayed not only her vows as a mother but her own standards as a woman of discipline and restraint? She pictured his eyes clouding with disappointment, his voice shaking as he demanded answers, his inevitable question, "How could you?" ringing in her ears before it had even been spoken. And Luna, the niece who had always been both a burden and a reminder of her sister's failures, would not keep this quiet. If anything, Luna would see it as ammunition, as proof that Lee was no better than anyone else, no better than the people she condemned, and Luna would savor it, twist it, perhaps even use it to her advantage in ways Lee could not yet predict. Lee imagined the confrontation with terrifying clarity. Luna storming into her office, her eyes wide with curiosity and accusation, demanding to know why Lee had been hiding test results, why she had grown colder and more brittle in recent weeks, and Lee snapping, unable to hold it in any longer, slamming the report down on the desk between them and spitting out the words that had been haunting her all day. "See this, Luna? You wanted the truth. Here it is. Look at it. Look at what you forced me into. Look at the father of this child." The silence that would follow would be unbearable, the kind of silence that isn't empty but rather filled with 1,000 unspoken daggers. And then Luna's reaction would come: shock, disbelief, maybe horror, maybe even laughter born of disbelief, but whatever it was, it would split their already fragile relationship down the middle. And once Luna knew, others would know. Secrets don't stay secrets in this town, not for long, not with Ridge, Brooke, Bill, Steffi, and Hope circling like hawks around every bit of scandal, not with Sheila lurking at the edges of every family's downfall, ready to weaponize weakness for her own gain. If Bill Spencer was the father, how quickly would he storm into the hospital, demanding answers, demanding control, spinning the narrative to his advantage and binding the Spencer empire to Lee's unborn child in ways that would ripple through generations? If Jack was the father, the shame would be unbearable. Her ex-husband, the man who had already betrayed her with Sheila, entangling her in another devastating mess, proving that she could never truly escape his shadow. And if the father was someone even more scandalous, someone whose involvement would turn every head in Los Angeles, the fallout would be nuclear. Lee closed her eyes, gripping the arms of her chair until her nails dug into the leather, trying to breathe, trying to remind herself that she was still in control, that she could delay this revelation, that she could carry this child quietly, make decisions silently, and never let the truth come out. But she knew, with every fiber of her being, that this was a lie she couldn't keep. The pregnancy itself would out her eventually. The father would be dragged into the light, and every person she had ever judged or looked down upon for their scandals would take sick pleasure in watching her fall. She thought of Steffi, proud, fiery Steffi, who had always seen Lee as a pillar of strength for Finn. What would Steffi say when she learned her mother-in-law was carrying another man's child? A child conceived under circumstances that would shatter their family. Would she forbid Lee from seeing her grandchildren, from being near Finn, from interfering in their lives? Would she weaponize the truth the way the Forresters so often do, using it as leverage in power struggles, twisting it until he became the outcast, the cautionary tale whispered about behind manicured hands at Forrester Creations and Spencer Publications? Lee felt her chest tighten, not just with fear but with something else. Anger, a boiling rage that she even had to suffer through this at all. She had spent her entire life working harder than everyone else, holding herself to standards no one else could meet, sacrificing her own happiness for the sake of her family. And now, in one reckless moment, she had undone it all. And yet, as much as she wanted to rage at the world, at Jack, at Bill, at Luna, at fate itself, she knew that ultimately, this was hers to own. This was her choice, her mistake, her burden. And soon, whether she liked it or not, it would be Luna's too, because Luna was tied to this in ways she could never untangle. Lee opened her eyes, staring at the report again, her lips moving silently as she repeated those words. See this, Luna, as if practicing, as if preparing herself for the inevitable showdown that would alter not just their relationship, but the entire course of their family's future. And in that whispered mantra, that bitter refrain, she realized something chilling. She wasn't just talking to Luna anymore. She was talking to Finn, to Jack, to Bill, to Steffi, to everyone who would soon hold this truth in their hands. She was rehearsing the moment her entire life exploded. The moment she would no longer be Dr. Lee Finnegan, the strong, respected, unflinching matriarch, but a woman exposed, a woman broken, a woman whose secret was now a weapon in the hands of everyone she had ever tried to control.